In this OnShape project, you're going to learn to use the application, the online application OnShape, in order to create a basic design of a 3D or laser cut lamp, and the lamp will use the etch technique in order to glow, so you'll be able to make text and images glow through clear perspex. The idea here is that you'll use the basic design and then you'll make your own improvements so that you can actually learn to create your own design or designs in the future using these techniques. The lamp is going to come in about 9 steps. This is going to be a long video, so be prepared to pause, do a little bit of work, and then continue watching the video. It might be also advisable to get a second screen and watch the video on the second screen, for example an iPad, while you've got your computer on your OnShape all ready to go. Step 1, we're going to set up our OnShape document. We need to set a few things up, give it a name, and set the variables for the width. So here I am in OnShape, and I'm in my OnShape section, so the section when you log in. This is what it looks like. You can see that I've got a number of projects that I've already completed. So we've got a number of projects that I've already completed with this particular login, but I'm going to create a new document. So create, and I'm going to create a document. The document title is going to be called, I'll call it Tut, because I'm using it for tutorial. Etch lamp, Etch LED lamp. That way I've got that named nicely so I understand exactly what it is. I'm going to press on OK, and it's going to bring me straight into our working space or our document. So we're now working in our document. Before I do anything else, I'm going to try and remember where everything is, because it's been a while since I've used this. I'm going to create a variable, the variable down here, and I use this variable, and it's going to be called material thickness. So the material thickness, I'm going to set it by default to be 3mm. The reason why, so 3mm, and I'm going to press tick. The reason why I set my material thickness to be 3mm is that way I can define it, and if I use or want to use something that's 2.9mm or 2.8mm, I can change it to that size without having to redesign my entire lamp around that. You can only do a certain amount of changes before your design breaks, so this is only for limited changes, but we're going to set that up as material thickness. Beyond that, I don't need to change anything else, and that is step 1 done, and that will auto-save no matter what you do, so you can continue working. If your internet goes down, it'll save the last thing you did, and so on and so forth. We're now up to step 2. We're going to start creating parts. The first part we're going to create is the main base. The main base is the jointed part, which joins the entire thing together and holds the batteries and that sort of thing. So we're ready to go in OnShape, and we're going to create the main base. The main base is going to be on the top, so top looking down, and it is going to be a square. It's important that you pay attention to how we do this. So I'm going to press on the sketch or click on the sketch button. I'm going to move until, make sure sketch plane is done here. I'm not going to name my sketches. You can do that if you want to, but I'm not going to name them for this particular one. Often I will, but for the sake of this tutorial, it'll be too slow if I continue to name everything. It's a good idea if you do it though. So I'm going to select the top plane. So now the top plane is selected, and I'm going to view down from the top like so. I'm then going to use the rectangle or corner rectangle tool, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click somewhere here in this top quadrant. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to pull my mouse down, and I'm going to click somewhere down here in the bottom quadrant. I accidentally right clicked as well, so there we go. So I've now set my square up. It's important that we have our square perfectly on the middle, because that will mean that we can do duplications or mirroring, particularly, so we can use the mirror feature a lot more effectively, which becomes really, really important to do. So I'm going to set it up on the middle by doing this. I'm going to draw a line, so click on the line. I'm going to select construction tool and click on that. I'm now moving my mouse around until I find that it pops over, and you can see that the icon, little grey icon there, changed to a line with a dot in the middle. That's a midpoint connection, so I'm going to click on that. I'm not dragging, I'm letting go, I'm moving my mouse freely, and I'm going to find the other midpoint over here, so that little line with a dot on it appears again, and I'm going to click to accept that. I'm now going to use the constraints tool, so I've still got this going. I can press escape, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to use the constraints tool and find the midpoint, and I'm going to lock the midpoint, which is this middle thing here, to the middle of this line. So now that midpoint is locked. I'm also going to make it a square, so I'm going to use the equals of this one here and this line here. And if you make two sides of the rectangle the same, it becomes a square, because they all become, right, so two adjacent sides, that is. And now I'm going to finally set the dimension, so that's the dimension tool there. Click on there, move it up, click on there once, click on here again. Notice I'm not clicking and dragging. 120 millimeters is the size of our base. I'm going to press enter, and my internet's being a bit slow, and there it goes. So we've got that square ready to go. That is perfect, that's what I want. I'm going to press tick on that to accept that sketch. I'm then going to press on this one here so that I can see, maybe that one there, so I get it around the right way, so I can see my square in a sort of a 3D perspective. The final thing I'm going to do to make this part is I'm going to extrude it up, and the extrude depth is going to be equal to M, the material thickness. I'm going to click on material thickness, and I'm going to press tick, and that is my main base. So I'm going to press tick to accept that extrude. So now that I've got this part down here, I'm going to right click on it and choose rename, which is right up the top, and I'm going to call it main base, and press enter to accept that change. So now that's called main base. That helps me to understand that. So I'm definitely going to label my parts here, and that is step 1 complete. We're going to create now step 3, the legs. The legs will stick out of the main base and will be finger jointed at one stage, but we need to just create them in the first instance. Creating the legs is a fairly simple affair. However, we're going to make sure that we are looking at it this way. If you've created yours on the front instead of the top, so you're looking at it and you've created it on the top instead of the front, or on the right instead of the front, on the top, sorry, you need to go back and do step 1 over again. So we're going to create the legs. The legs are fairly simple. They're going to be rectangles. I'm going to draw a sketch on this one. Instead of drawing it on any plane though, I'm going to make sure that the outside of my square of my main base is selected, and I'm going to click on to accept that. I'm then going to look at that from the top, and I'm going to draw in a rectangle. The rectangle is going to go from this top quadrant here, and it's just going to be roughly that size, like so. So you can see that I've drawn the rectangle. We're now going to fix this rectangle with some dimensioning tools. So I'm going to click on the dimensioning tool. I'm going to click on this line to select it. It should select it. Maybe I've done that wrong, so I'm going to press escape. If I ever get in trouble, press escape and click on the dimension line. Click on the dimension line and then click on the top line of the rectangle, and that's going to be the dimension. I might put it over here of, I'm going to make that 10 millimeters. I'm now going to set this dimension from here, from this bottom line, click, let go, click, let go, click over here, let go, 10 millimeters. And I'm going to set this one in here, click between here and here, click and click. This will also be 10 millimeters. Now, the width of my rectangle between this line and this line is going to be my material thickness. So once I've got the material thickness done, press enter. There it is, it's now set to 3. If I go back and change the material thickness now, it will change the thickness of my main part and will change the size of that rectangle. I've now completed that sketch, it's now black. I'm not going to draw my other leg in, I've got a different way of doing that. So I'm going to press on tick in order to do that, and I'm going to look at that from the angle, and I'm going to zoom in on that section there, because I'm going to do an extrude, and I'm going to extrude that part there, and I'm going to extrude it a different direction. So I'm going to change the direction, and it is going to be 40 plus material thickness. And does it accept that? No. Well, we'll make it 43, and that'll be fine because it doesn't really matter on whether that works. I'm working on in a different program. Now you'll notice that it says add here. I don't want it to say add, I want it to say new, and press on OK or tick. Now if yours is not a different color, and you can't see this line here, it means you added it. So we can go back into the extrude 2, which is where you created that, and change it from add to new. That is going to be my leg. You can see there that's a bit of a boring leg, so I might actually now create a bit of a sketch on here, and I'm going to put in a rectangle from here to here, and I might make that some dimensions. Click on here, let go, click on here, I might make that 10 up, and I might press escape, and I might drag that line in there so it's inside. Now I'm going to press on dimension again. Difference between here, click, and there, click, is I'll make that 30 millimeters, and I'm going to make this one here to here also 30 millimeters, and I'm going to press tick, and I'm going to go extrude on that rectangle there, and this time I'm going to choose remove, and we can see there that it's not removing it, it is removing it. So I'm going to press tick. That's my basic lamp, so my basic leg. The final thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is I'm going to cut the fingers out of this one. Actually no, I'm not. Fingers are later. So we've got that part there. The final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the mirror tool. So I'm going to create a mirror tool, this little one here. It's a mirror, a grey part and a white part. I'm going to click on the mirror tool. I'm going to click on the part that I'm going to enter. See, it says it's blue here. That's what I'm doing at the moment. Entities to mirror. So I'm selecting the part I'm going to mirror. I'm going to select that one. Now I'm going to click on this one. So this is blue. The mirror plane is going to be the right plane. And it's going to put another one over there. You're noticing it's adding. If I do that, it's going to basically join them all together. I need to click new. So if I didn't do that, then we're good. And we're going to press tick. So we now have two legs. I'm going to rename them. Rename leg LEG 1. Press enter. And I'm going to rename this part here as LEG 2. Press enter. So we've now got our legs for our lamp, and we are now finished that part. Now we're going to create the cross panels. The cross panels are going to strengthen the legs so they don't wobble from side to side or easily break, and that will also hold the LED panel. The cross panels are going to add strength between the two legs. If you actually just join this right now as it is, it wouldn't work because that part's interloaded with that part. But if you try to join them right now, they sort of wobble a bit. We don't want that, so we're going to add in a cross panel on each side in order to make that work. We're going to do this first of all. Now we're going to hover over the main base, and we're going to press on that little eye to make the main base disappear. We don't need to see the main base in order to do this. I'm going to look at this from the left hand view, and I'm going to basically put a cross panel over here. The strongest way to do this, I'm going to press sketch, I'm going to click on that panel. The strongest way to do this is to put the rectangle just inside this part of the shape. So not on the edge of the shape. You put it on the edge of the shape. It's strong, but it's not quite as strong as putting it inside the shape. So I'm going to press on, or make sure I'm hovering over that line for my first click. I'm letting go, I'm not clicking and dragging. And I'm going to pull it down about that far, like so. And there we have the lines that we're going to draw for our cross panel. We need to dimension them, so I'm going to use dimension tool. I'm going to click on here and click on here, and I'm going to use material thickness, 3 millimeters, and I'm going to set the dimension from here to here. The thickness of the actual panel is also going to be material thickness of 3 millimeters. The distance from there to there, I'm just going to click once, and I'm going to pull out and I'm going to drag down. I'm going to set that to be I'll go 23 millimeters. And the reason why I'm going 23 millimeters is the top 3 millimeters from there to there is actually into the base. Sorry, so we're going to press 23. Now, obviously, if we need some adjusting, that's not going to change too much. It's still going to be roughly 20 mils down, but that's what we'll actually have it set up. So now I'm going to press on tick to accept that. I'm going to look at this from an angle so I can sort of see that one there. That's the one I'm going to extrude now. So I'm going to extrude this, that one there. You can see it's wanting to come out at the moment. I'm going to turn around and look at it from the other side now, like so. And I'm going to, instead of go blind, I'm going to say up to face, and I'm going to click on this face. And you can see it's going to go all the way through. It's going to be a new part. And that will be it. So I'm going to press on tick to accept that. And I now have a new part. You'll notice it's blue. If it's not blue, if it's the same color as your legs, that means you did it wrong and you need to go back into your extrude and change it from add to new. I'm going to click on that, right click on that now, and rename it cross panel, X panel, like so. And now I'm going to use the mirror tool to copy another one across. So where is that mirror tool? There it is there. Click on the shape that I want to click on. Click on this little thing here to say I'm going to select my mirror plane now. It's this one here. I'll just zoom out a bit so you can see it. It's the front one. And there it's going to go in there. It's going to be a new one, not an add or a remove. I'm going to press tick. And we now have our cross panel in there. I'm going to right click on that and rename that X panel 2. And press on enter to accept that. So we now have that one and that one and that one. I'm going to now turn the main base on. So we now have all of that sort of sitting there together. Obviously it's not going to work yet because we haven't done any joining. But that is the basic structure of what we're doing so far. The LED panel will hold 3 LEDs that will sit and shine up through the etched perspex. So it's going to be a horizontal beam that goes between 2 of the cross beams. So we're now going to create our LED panel or LED panel, and our LED panel, we're going to look at it from the front here. That might not necessarily be our front. In fact, it's not going to be our front, it's really going to be our side. We're going to draw a little rectangle. It's going to go all the way across to the other cross panel on the other side. It's going to have 3 holes in it at various places, and that way we can set up our LEDs to sit in there, but we're going to do a few tricky things in order to get this right. So we're going to go sketch now, and we're going to create this sketch on the cross panel, on the outside of the cross panel, and it's just going to be a rectangle clicking from this side over to this side, like so. I'm going to set to make it perfectly in the middle before I do anything else. That was bad. I'm going to press undo there. I am actually using the trackpad by the mouse. It's better if you use a trackpad, sorry, the mouse. But basically I'm going to use a line tool and I'm going to use a construction tool. And I'm going to go from here and I'm going to find the midpoint of that line. There it is there. You can see it's a little circle with a dot on it, like so. Now that line there is not straight up and down, so I'm going to make sure it is straight up and down by using the vertical tool and clicking on it. So no matter what now, this rectangle is perfectly in the middle of this bigger rectangle. I'm now going to set the dimensions of this. So I'm going to set the dimension, and I'm going to set the dimension from this bottom of this panel to here, like so. And I'm going to set that to be, we'll go 4 millimeters. I'm also going to set the distance from here to here, and oops, press escape if you ever get it wrong. I accidentally clicked on something else. Go back to there, click on here and click on here so I don't click on that again. I'm going to make that 20 mils wide, like so. I'm now going to set the thickness of it, one here to this one here, click, click, and it's going to be the material thickness. So press M and then select material thickness and press enter. So we've now got that sketch drawn. I'm now going to take that sketch, so I might view it from the front, can't quite see it from the front, so I'm going to view it from the right, and I'm going to go extrude, and I'm going to click on that, and if you look at it now from the front you'll see it's sticking out. I'm going to look at it from this side, looking at it from the back, and I'm going to go from blind to up to face. I'm going to click on this one, and we're going to make sure it's a new thing that we're adding there, and we're going to press on OK, and this is rename the LED panel, and press enter. So you can look up underneath and you should see a panel sitting up in there that is going to hold our LEDs, all three of them. We're not going to put the holes through yet because we want to put the holes where they're going to line up with our particular panel. So that's our etch panel. So we'll worry about that in a little bit. We're now up to step 6, which is a rather complicated one, so you're going to need to pay careful attention here as we start creating all of the finger joints. This is a multi-step process, so we need to pay close attention, pause, always go back or undo if you're unsure of what you're doing, but really pay close attention, particularly to dimensions, and remember to not click and drag unless I tell you to. Okay, this is where things get a little bit complicated. You should still be able to follow this. This is not going to be too tricky, I don't think. So we're going to go and do our finger joints. We need to cut fingers out of the legs and out of the side panels, or the cross panels, and out of the LED panel where they intersect with other parts. So that's fairly straightforward. I'm going to turn the main base off for the time being. And I'm also going to turn off my cross panel 1 and my cross panel 2. And while I'm there, I might as well turn the LED panel off as well. So I'm just playing with my legs at the moment. I'm just going to put the legs or the parts into the legs. So I'm going to create a fairly simple, going to give you a fairly simple 3-finger joint. So that should be fine. I'm going to create a sketch now on the outside of this leg, like so. I'm going to draw in, as I said, it's going to be 3 sort of parts. So basically I'm going to draw from the top corner, one there. I'm going to make it like this big, right? I'm going to draw from the other top corner from here to here, make it that big. And I'm going to draw one from somewhere on this side to somewhere on this side, but I'm going to make it closer to the middle on this side than the other. This just makes things a bit easier. So I've now got my three sort of rectangles. This middle one's going to be quite easy, so I'm going to set the dimensions on this. Dimensions, they're from here to here, and I'm going to make them all 20. So just to make it easy, to make them all 20, the easiest way is to make them equal. This is equal to this, and this is equal to this. Now they're all 20. Okay, I'm now going to set this one here as a midpoint, this one here to that point there. Nice and easy, hey? And then I'm basically going to set this one here horizontal, that point there on that corner to this point here on this corner horizontal, this point here on this corner to this point here on this corner horizontal. So I'm going to have 2 fingers sticking up through, and that should be fine because I've got lots of fingers all the way around the box anyway, so it should be fine. If you want to do more fingers, make these 10 and then do another 2 in here and just space them out nice and evenly. If you space them out nice and evenly, they'll work either way. If you don't space them out nice and evenly, it'll be a one-way lamp. Every part will only go in one spot. It won't be able to swap with the other part. We're now going to do the extrude, so I'm going to look at this from the side. I'm going to press tick on this to accept that change or that sketch. I'm going to now extrude this one and that one, so all 3 of them. I'm now going to pull it round and go, the type is going to be up to face, and I'm going to bring it to this face here. The type is going to be a remove, and the merge scope, there's nothing in there at the moment, is going to be this one and this one. So make sure that there's leg 1 and leg 2 in there. If they're, if you accidentally click on it again, it goes away. Make sure that there's leg 1 and leg 2 in there. And now press tick. You now see that those fingers are done and they're in there. We're now going to turn the legs off, and we're going to do the cross panels. Turn those on and that one on. Let's actually look at this from the right hand view. we've got to do little cross panels on this side, so let's do those first. We're going to create a sketch, and we're going to click on this part here, and we're going to draw in from the top corner a little box, top corner, bottom corner a little box, and while we're over here we'll do that one as well, making sure that you don't line it up with that, because that would be bad because it'll lock. So yeah, that's more likely to happen with that one though. So we're now just going to basically set this one up here. I'm going to use the dimension tool. From this one here to this one here is going to be material thickness, and this one here to this one here is also going to be material thickness. We don't need to set those ones because we can make them equal somehow, so we're going to click on this one here. I'll make that, press escape, always do that. Click on here, press this one here and not actually press on that line there, and make that 5 exactly, press enter. And this one here, and this one here, and also make that 5 exactly. Okay, and now we're going to use the alignment tools, so we'll use the horizontal tool. This one here is going to align with this one here, and this one here is going to align with this one here, and then we'll use the vertical tools to align this one here to this one here, and this one here to this one here, like so. Now, because we're going to have some extra sort of fingers on the top, let's just draw those in now. We're going to draw 3. I'm going to draw 1 from here, like so. I'm going to draw 1 from here, like so. See, I'm actually locking them to that size there, and I'm going to use that as a lock there, so they're all locked. If you didn't lock yours, you're going to have to set them to 3. And then I'm going to set dimensions. Okay, so dimension of this one here, I'm going to make those 15 because they're going to be slightly smaller. Just enter. I'll make them all equal, so I don't like typing in stuff. It's much quicker to do. Tick, tick, tick. Now to line this up with the middle, I'm going to use the midpoint of this one here and that point there, and that's going to line it up nicely with the middle. And I'm going to press tick. So I'm going to now do the extrusion. I'm going to click on extrude, and I'm going to select all of those rectangles that I just did. This is annoying how it comes down in front of it, all that many rectangles. Let's look at it from this side. You can see there, selected all of them, and now I'm going to basically bring it to, instead of blind, up to face. I'm going to click on this one here. I'm going to click on remove, and I'm going to make sure that the merge scope contains that one and that one. Cross panel, yep, cross panel, and cross panel 2, and press tick. So I now have those panels done. This is getting long, and we're going to keep going though. So the final one I'm going to do is the lead panel. So I'm going to turn the lead panel on, and I'm going to do a sketch on top of the lead panel. Let's view it from the top. This is only a small one, so we're going to do the rectangle from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, and from here to here. So now we have those rectangles drawn. We're just going to do some dimensioning. Okay, this distance from the top to here is going to be 3 millimeters, and because I'm going to be lazy, I'm going to make them all equal. This one here to this one here, this one here to this one here, this one here to this one here. So I'm just going to make them all equal to 3 millimeters. Makes it easy, doesn't it? So eventually they should all turn black, and they should all be equal to 3 millimeters. And I'm going to press tick, and now I'm going to extrude them. And this is easy. I don't actually have to do any merge scope stuff. I just have to select them all and press remove, and then press on OK, tick, like so. And now it's all removed. So now if I turn all my parts back on, you think I might be finished? Well, not quite. So you can see there the fingers are sort of through, but you can see how it's sort of changes colour a bit. It's got a bit of a splash of colour in there. That means that those parts are still intersecting with each other, and we don't want them intersecting each other. We want holes in that top. So we're going to use this special thing here called, get rid of that. I'm going to press here called the Boolean. The Boolean will basically allow us to do what we call a subtraction. Now the tools that we're going to use first for the first subtraction, there are going to be a couple of subtractions we're going to do. The tools we're going to use for the first subtraction are going to be the legs. One, you can actually click on that part there, and you should be able to select that one, this leg here, and this cross beam here. And the target is just going to be the top. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 panels in there and the main base in there. You're going to make sure that Keep Tools is checked, and we're going to press OK. Now that doesn't seem like it's done anything, but you'll notice it's now not blurry or changing color in there. And also, when you start turning those legs off, you'll see that there are holes cut in the main panel. So that's good. That's exactly what we want. So let's turn those panels back on. We now need to also cut both of the panels through the legs. So you can see there that that's not quite right. Also notice that that's not quite right. So we have to do another 2 booleans to fix this. So I'm going to do a boolean here. It's going to be a subtraction. The tools in this case are going to be the cross beams, and the targets in this case are going to be the legs. And we're keeping the tools, we're doing a subtract, and we're going OK. Final boolean. One more. Click on this, and the method is going to be subtract, and we're going to use the tools. There's only one tool for this. It's the lead panel. And the targets are target, accept target, that one, and that one. And press tick. So now all of those have holes in them that will cut through. So if we turn those panels off, we can see that the legs have holes in them. We turn the lead panel off, we can see that the cross panels have holes in them. So each part is now going to interlock nicely. If we cut those out on a laser cutter, they will perfectly fit together. And we now have our base. I'm sorry that took so long, but that's the way this actually has to be. We're now going to create the finishing panel. The finishing panel is the top surface of the base of the lamp. So the lamp has 2 legs, 2 cross panels, a main panel which joins into it, but the finishing panel will hide all of the joints and make your lamp look a lot nicer. Okay, the finishing panel is a fairly easy affair. All you need to do really is to create another panel on top of this one that's the same size, but it's solid. We don't want to see those joins in there because they can be a little bit distracting. So you'll be able to see them no matter what if you leave it on, but if you put a finishing panel over the top, we won't see them at all. So we basically just could sit there and go extrude and click on that one, and you'll see that it all pops up, and that's a bit annoying. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select each one of these first, each one, making sure I get each one nicely, and then I'm going to select the main one. I'm going to set the material thickness like so, making sure it's a new piece, and I'm going to press on tick to accept that. And you'll see that that's a little bit annoying, this method, because it's created a whole bunch of parts. That's fine, we can actually fix that by going like so. So the lead panel, all these parts here, we're going to click on Boolean, we're going to do Union, and we're going to select Tools, we're going to click on Shift and click on that one, all of those in the panel, and that's going to be part 7. I'm just going to press on tick, and now that's joined. So that's the easy, cheaters way of doing it. I sort of don't really like that very much, but that's how we do it. Now I'm going to rename this. We'll call this the finishing panel, and press enter. So we've now got our finishing panel. We're now going to create the etching panel. The etching panel joins into and goes through the finishing panel and the main base panel, and that is what the light shines up through. We won't be doing any of the etching design in OnShape, just the outside shape for this one. So it's a fairly straightforward thing that we've got to create. Let's get into that now. Okay, the etching panel is going to extrude up from the middle, the dead set middle of this particular panel, but it's going to be inside of the legs so that we don't have any sort of overlap with the legs. That's sort of important that we do that. So there's a number of tricky ways I could do this. I'm going to do it the untricky way. It's going to be the simple way rather than the tricky way. You can see that this panel here is the direction it's going to go, so it's actually going to be these legs here are going to be the face of it. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to have to draw my panel inside this section here, but all the way through. So let's just do that now. So here we go. I'm going to turn the lead panel off, and I'm going to draw a sketch. The sketch is going to be underneath, so it's going to be on the base or underneath the main base. Now remember, it's going to be perpendicular to the legs. So I'm going to draw in a corner rectangle. I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to go somewhere down here. Excuse me. So the first things first is that it is going to have a dimension. Oh, actually I won't do the dimension first. I'm going to make it middle or center first. Easy way to do this with a big one like this is to go from a line from the midpoint here. I'll make sure it's a construction tool. I'll go from the midpoint here to the midpoint down here. Okay, so that's going to be the middle of those two lines, and if we line this up to the middle of that, so let's just find the midpoint tool up here. We click on his and then click on this. That's going to lock it. Did I get that? Yeah. Okay, so there it is. It's locking on. I'm now going to set dimensions of this. Actually, it doesn't really matter if it overlaps this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the coincidence tool to set this equal to that, and that's going to basically mean that that's joined up from there to there. And then I'm going to use the dimension tool from here to here to make this my material thickness. Press escape. Double click into that. M for material thickness, and there we go. So this is going to be, I'm going to turn off X panel and X panel 2 and leg 2 just to make this a little bit easier to see. So I've now got, I'm looking at it from the bottom and it's hard to see, but there it is there. I'm going to press on tick to accept that sketch. I'm now going to extrude it, and I'm going to extrude it. At the moment it's going to want to extrude it down. I'm going to change the direction, and I'm going to go up 136 millimeters. It's going to go new, and it's going to press tick. My internet is popping in and out, and this app relies on internet, so it's taking a little bit of time. Okay, so my internet sort of stopped, so I'm going to go new again, and press on tick, 130 millimeters, 136 didn't I say, and press tick. Yeah, you need the internet to actually use this thing, and if the internet's not working, then that can happen. So now I'm looking at that sketch there, and that looks about right. That looks like it's going to be a good size for my lamp, and so that will be the etch panel. So let's actually rename that as etch panel. But we're not finished yet. We're going to put some fingers in here so that the light can shine through. We need to put 3 fingers. So we need to see 3 fingers on this. I'm going to turn the main base off, and I'm going to turn the finishing panel off. So at the bottom, we're going to draw in 5 rectangles this time because we want 3 lights. If that doesn't make sense to you, it will eventually, because we're going to put a sketch down here. We want 3 fingers of actual panel to go down in. So I'm going to basically draw in a rectangle here, like so. I'll make it ridiculously big. I'm going to draw another one from this line up. From this line, I'm not going to lock it to anything over here. And from this line here, there's 3, there's 4, and there's 5. Okay. So now I'm going to do this. This might seem strange, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on here, and the difference between here and here, I'm going to press enter. I'm not going to change it yet. The difference between here and here, I'm going to press enter. I'm not going to change it yet. The difference between here and here, I'm going to press enter, and I'm not going to change it yet. The difference between here and here, I'm going to press enter. I'm not going to change it yet. I'm now going to set all these to be equal. Right, so this one here and this one here is going to be equal. This one here and this one here is going to be equal. This one here and this one here is going to be equal. And this one here and this one here is going to be equal. Now that they're all equal, I'm going to press escape. And I'm going to double click into these and change them. And I'm going to make them all to be, I'll make them 10. Oh, my bad. Take 2. Hopefully I just made a mistake, so I have to go back and edit this. Hopefully I edited it properly. So here we go. So I'm going to basically draw these rectangles. I need to draw 4 of them. So if I draw 1 here, I'll draw them up nice and big so I can see them. 2, 3, 4. I might have gone on about drawing 5 rectangles. I might have made a mistake, and I might have taken you through. And now I'm fixing it. Hopefully I edit this properly so that was all gone, but if not, there it is. So now I've got 3. There's going to be 1, 2, 3 columns left, so there's going to be 4 taken out. Those 3 columns are going to be important, so I'm going to click here and use the dimension tool now. Same as I sort of was doing before. Click on here, dimension between each rectangle. I'm going to press enter on it. I'm not going to change it. Dimension between each rectangle, and press enter on it. I'm not going to change it. Dimension between each rectangle, and I'm not going to change it. I'm now going to use the equals sign, so the equals are there. I'm going to make this line equal to this line. I'm going to make this line equal to this line. I'm going to make this line equal to this line, and they're all resized nicely. So I'm now going to press escape to get rid of that equals thing. I'm going to double click on here and make each of these 15 millimeters. 15 millimeters is a good size to shine a 5mm LED through. So now that they are all the right size, I'm now going to line them all up horizontal. This one here to this one here, this one here to this one here, this one here to this one here. They're all lined up. I'm now going to set the dimension height from here to here, like so, and that's just going to be 6mm. Doesn't matter if it's out by a little bit, but 6mm is fine. Okay, I made that unnecessarily hard. I'm going to press on tick there now, and I'm going to extrude that one, that one, that one, and that one, and I'm going to hit remove and press tick. I'm now going to turn the main base and the etching panel on, and you should see that those stick into there like so. So now I need to do a boolean, and I'm going to do a subtract. My target, or my tool, is the etching panel, and my two targets are the top and the bottom panels. Press tick. So you should have finishing panel and main base in there. So press tick. Now if I turn my etch panel off, you can see that it lines up. So in order to get that top panel on nicely, all you need to do is line those holes up, stick it in there, wait for the glue to dry, and then you can take that panel in and out as you need to. So now we've got our etching panel and all of our other panels in place. Before we do anything else, we're going to put our LED holes in place. See there, we have something happening. So we're going to create a sketch. The sketch is going to be on this sketch panel. But before we do that, we're going to turn off the LED panel, and we're going to draw circles. The circles are going to be on this line, like so. We'll draw them big to the time being. That circle there is just going to be locked on the middle, so we don't have to worry about that. We'll draw it big. Make sure we don't, and we'll draw another one here on that line. So they're all lined up in a line. Okay. Now we're going to draw construction lines on these two rectangles. We can't see those, so we're actually going to do this special thing here, which is called this one here. Sorry again. Project. I'm going to project this line here, and this line here, and this line here, and this line here. Project this line here, and this line here. And you notice that they're construction lines. That's always good. So now I'm going to then draw in an extra construction line from the midpoint of that line to the midpoint of this line, and the midpoint of this line to the midpoint of this line, like so. It's a bit complicated, but that's what it is. And now I'm going to make this one the midpoint of this circle onto this line, and I'm going to make the midpoint of that circle onto that line. Now I can actually sit there and I can use the equal sign to make each circle equal. And because each LED is a 5mm LED, just to be really strange, I'm going to set that to be 4.95, which means that the LED will sit in there a little bit nicer. Like so. Now I'm going to press tick. Now I'm going to extrude the circle. Now if you can't get the full circle because this is not selected and this is not selected, you have to select three things. I'm going to zoom back in here, and I'm going to select this circle, and this circle, and I'm going to hit remove, and I'm going to merge scope with the LED panel, like so, and press tick. So that's gone through. So now I've got my holes for my LEDs. So that's the etch panel all set up. If you want to change the shape of your etch panel, now is the time to do it. I wouldn't go much bigger than that in any direction really. So if you want to make it like a funny shape or a fancy shape, you want to make it smaller than that if possible. Maybe a bit bigger here and there, but I wouldn't go too far. The final step, step 9, is we're going to create a provision for batteries and a switch. We're going to be using AAA batteries and a very tiny, or the smallest little switch that I could get access to, and that will be sticking out, I think, of maybe the back of the legs, and that will be able to be turned on and off, running on 2 AAA batteries. This lamp should basically run for about 4 or 5 days on 2 AAA batteries, but basically that's what we're going to be aiming to do, is to power it via AAA batteries. Okay, we're almost there. The final thing is to actually put a switch in, and the switch can either go in the back or the front, but it's going to go through one of the legs of the switch. So let's do the switch hole. We create a sketch on there, and the switch hole is going to be on that sketch there, and it's just going to be a circle. I'm going to basically use the middle line as my drawing for my circle, so line it up with the middle line. Oh, the sketch plane's not selected. There you go. Choose that. Face it extrude. Now I'm going to use the circle. Just line it up on the midline like so, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to set the dimension of that point there to that point there. I don't know, maybe 14, and the dimension of this one here is 4.95. That should be good. I'm going to press tick. I'm going to press extrude. I'm going to click the circle, and I'm going to click on remove and press tick. I've now got a little hole there for that particular switch. I'm now going to run the battery in there, so I'm going to put the battery case in between here and here. Okay, so I'm going to create a sketch on this base of this one here. I'm going to draw a line, which is going to be a construction line from that midpoint there to that midpoint there. Pretty close, that'll do. And then I'm going to press on the circle tool. I'm going to make sure it's not construction now. And on the midpoint of that, I'm going to draw a tiny circle. It's a big circle at the moment, but it's going to be a tiny circle. It is going to be, we'll make it 2 mil, which is really small. I'm going to zoom up, press tick, I'm going to extrude that circle. I'm going to press remove. There's a little hole in the battery case, or the battery clip, and that battery clip is going to just screw in there, and a bit of hot glue, that'll hold it in place nicely. So I've now got my lamp all done and dusted. So it's now time for us to come into our conclusion and think about what we're going to do to make this our own. That's as far as I'm going to take you with this design. It's now up to you to make any changes you wish. You can do things like rounding corners. You can change the shape of the etch panel. You can, don't make it too big however, just ask your teacher as to how big it should be maximum. Otherwise the light won't sort of shine through very well. You can add a back panel to your etch panel, which you can see in the image there. That's what's been done. You can see also rounded corners, and you can also play around with different etching styles. You can also put holes in your lamp base, for example. That might be effective. You can also put a hole through your etching panel. It doesn't need to be solid. The light will bounce around in there regardless of what you do. So it's up to you as to how you change the design, or it's really between you and your client.